Well, for more analysis on the New Hampshire primary, I'm now joined by Jocelyn Sage Mitchell, who's an assistant professor teaching comparative and American politics at Northwestern University here in Qatar. Thank you so much for coming in. So, a big night for Bernie Sanders, but Pete Buttigieg not far from him, and Amy Klobuchar doing quite well as well. What does this result say about what is on voters' minds, the Democratic primary voters' minds, as they head towards November?
Great, thanks for having me. You're absolutely right that this was a big night for Sanders, Buttigieg, and Klobuchar, but really the big story is Amy Klobuchar. For a candidate that was consistently polling in the single digits, to come with almost 20% of the actual primary vote is massive. In the debate last Friday, she called for empathy and experience in the White House and asked the voters of New Hampshire to take a chance on her. And they did. And this really makes her a viable candidate going forward in this process.
So which voters have shifted towards her precisely?
Well, some of the exit polling,
yeah.
Right, some of the exit polling do show that those white college-educated women who had previously been supporting Elizabeth Warren may have shifted towards Amy Klobuchar.
Right. Of course, there's still a long way to go until November. Still a lot of states. Coming up next is Nevada and South Carolina. And I think all eyes there will be on the minorities' votes, African Americans, especially in South Carolina. Who are they likely to turn towards?
Excellent question. I mean, you know, Nevada is really important, so is South Carolina, because now we introduce further diversity to this primary process. We've heard about the voter mindsets in Iowa, Midwest, New Hampshire, Northeast, but now we move to the West and the South, and as you said, we bring in Latinos in Nevada and African Americans in South Carolina, and these are very important constituencies of the Democratic Party. It's important what they think. These are big tests for Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar because they have to show that they have appeal beyond their largely white Midwest demographics. It's also a big test for Joe Biden. Very disappointing first two results for him. He's pinning all his hopes on the strong support that he enjoys with the African American community in South Carolina. But you know what? 2 weeks is a long time to wait.
So if he doesn't do well in South Carolina, do you think that will be the end for him?
To be honest, I think he needs to do well in Nevada.
Despite his fame and experience.
He needs to do well in Nevada to have a chance, because I'm not entirely sure that the African-American voters are going to wait around for a candidate that they no longer see as viable.
What about Michael Bloomberg? Of course, he didn't take part in the New Hampshire primary, and he's actually not faced voters just yet. Is he a plausible candidate for the Democrats, you think?
That is the million-dollar question right now.
He's got a lot of money.
I should say billion-dollar question.
He's got a lot of money, for sure.
We don't know because he hasn't been on any ballots yet, and he's not going to be until Super Tuesday, which is March 3rd. This is his strategy to avoid these 4 early states, to go for the Super Tuesday states where 14 states will go to the polls. He's been saturating the airwaves, and he has been polling pretty well in California, for example. But this strategy might backfire because some candidates, as we saw, Amy Klobuchar and others, are getting serious momentum from these early candidates. So what will happen in March 3rd, we just have to wait and see.
All right. Jocelyn, where do you see things heading over the next few months? I mean, can Bernie Sanders, if he's the nominee, beat Donald Trump in November? Sanders is, of course, a democratic socialist with a progressive agenda. Is America ready for that?
Another great question. I think that it's very telling that at every Democratic debate, the candidates have taken pains to express that no matter what, they are going to be unified behind each other. And to be honest, no matter who ends up being the nominee, they're going to need that unified front. All the other candidates and their supporters are going to have to get behind them. It's hard to beat an incumbent president.
All right, Jocelyn Sage Mitchell, very interesting to get your thoughts on this. Thank you very much for joining us on Al Jazeera.